Yo, what is going on, guys? This is Wes for Show bringing you a Final Fantasy XIV video. Have I ever done one of these? So I decided I would just do like a webcam for this video, because usually I'll make these and I'll just throw a bunch of trailer gameplay or me playing the game or whatever in the background and just talk over it. But I felt like, I don't know, maybe you guys wanted a change of things and maybe you want to see my face when I talk about it. I don't know. But it's kind of in relation to this video anyway. So here's the thing. I'm about to start playing Final Fantasy XIV personally for the first time ever officially. I have bought the game in the past and I did play it for about a week, I guess, of time, up until like level 20 or so. I played with a couple of friends, but I don't remember really anything. I remember a few aspects of the game, but I've forgotten it all. So I'm just going to start over, new server, new character, everything. It's just going to be brand new from the day one. And I'm going to journey onward to hopefully get the best gear in the game, get raid ready, you know, do all those things, and experience it to its fullest level if I enjoy it that much. And Simply Cajun will be joining me. So in this video, it's going to be kind of a blind review for first-time Final Fantasy players, because that's what I am. And so whenever I finish this video, whenever I get done leveling up in the game and I get to the end game and I get kind of in a routine of getting into the game, or if I end up dropping it, or whatever the case may be, if I stop playing after I've gotten everything I needed to get, whatever happens, I can make a review then after I've done everything and compare the two. So what I want to talk about is what to expect as a new player, what I'm looking forward to, and what I'm not looking forward to. And I'm hoping this will relate to those of you who are looking into joining and starting playing Final Fantasy, because I have a general idea of what the game is and everything about it. So I'm going to mention some of those, and hopefully you can relate and it may help you. So before we get started, I would like to ask that you would just leave a like on this video, comment if you enjoyed it. My goal is to hit 10 likes, so if we can break that goal, I will freaking love your pancreases. So please help me break that goal. Breed? Is that even a word? I don't know. Let's get started. So I've heard a lot of things about the dungeon, raids, and storyline of the game. Those are kind of three aspects to PvP that I'm looking forward to in the long term. So I've heard that the raid system, there's a lot of really just bossing type content where you don't really go through a full raid, clear trash mobs, kill this mini boss, this mini, and then get to the big boss. It's usually just a big, like, huge battlefield where you fight these big bosses that they're honestly monumental bosses that you remember. From what I've been told by the community, the bosses are similar to it's kind of like old school WoW. Like, you remember those bosses, you know what I'm saying? You finally took it down and that sticks with you. It's kind of an immersive MMO in that aspect, especially if you're coming from a Final Fantasy background. I think it heavily caters to those players because you get to ride chocobos third person in an MMO. You get to craft the things of the Final Fantasy universe. You're using, you know, Fyra and all these elements. Even if you come from Kingdom Hearts, that's where most of my Final Fantasy knowledge is from Kingdom Hearts. You know, there's Kupos. It kind of caters a lot to Final Fantasy fans, but the bosses look incredible. I've seen a lot of PvE content and it just seems difficult. There's so many tactics you have to memorize, so many things you have to know about, and honestly, people compare it to WoW's content all the time, but I'm truly looking forward to the in-game dungeons, even while leveling, and the fates and those kind of things. Now, as far as the short term for the PvE, I'm looking forward to those fate events where you run, and it's kind of like Guild Wars 2 events where you go in and you do whatever the thing suggests, and it's on a certain time schedule or whatever's happening in that area, and you go and you do that event, you get XP for it. There's events like Guild Wars 2, and then there's fates where you can join groups and you go in and you get this like specific timed quest that you can do for a reward of XP depending on how well you perform the quest, or if you killed more mobs or whatever, you get bonuses for all that, and it just sounds really fun to level up. And also, there's like a hunting log, so you can look at what monsters, if you want to level up this way, you can look at what monsters are located, whatever your log is telling you. You need to kill 5 of these, 10 of these, whatever, and you can go and locate them and find where those mobs are, kill that many amount of mobs, and you get an XP reward. And then if you kill all the mobs in that area, you get an even bigger, like, amazing reward. And then you have like extra rewards on top of that for completing all of those. And it's just kind of this tier list of hunting logs. And I love that method of leveling, just going and killing things and having fun with different types of mobs. That's one of my favorite ways to really level up, is just kind of immerse myself, hunt some things, kill some things, because I come from a background of Dofus, Maple Story, Dragon Nest, those kind of games where you find that mob and you kill them, and it's just like, I don't know, it kind of relates to me in that, and that's where I'm really excited about those kind of thing. Now, I'm really looking forward to the storyline. The storyline in Final Fantasy XIV is incredible. I would venture to say that it is the #1 best lore out of any MMO, period. Of course, I haven't firsthand experienced it. From what I've researched, from what I've learned, from what I've seen, it is phenomenal. Now, it's not as vast as, say, World of Warcraft, with a lore that's been going on for like decades, you know, ever since the first RTS Warcraft, Orcs versus Humans. Like, it's not anything like that, but it is its own unique style of things with the Final Fantasy slapped on top, because that's the type of story it is. It is just phenomenal about how you're in Eorzea and then the legends and all of these. Like, it's so cool, and I just love it. So I'm really looking forward to that. For those of you who are like more casual players and stuff like that like to get immersed or look at the little details of the game, man, you can play with a controller, you can do keyboards, you can play those different ways. The music in the game, oh my gosh, that is the one thing that I remember from when I played, that week that I played, was the music. It was just, oh, so good, because it's Final Fantasy. How can you not like the music? You know what I'm saying? It was so incredibly good. In each area, I remembered it by its music. The NPCs were awesome. Like, I remembered it by its music. It was so cool. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Free company. So there is a guild system in Final Fantasy XIV that works similar to World of Warcraft guilds or Guild Wars 2 guilds or whatever, but it's a kind of a bigger, broader picture of guilds. I don't know what the limit cap for players is. It might be unlimited, or it's like 1,000 people, or it's something massive where you can just have hundreds of people in a free company that go and do events together and guild quests. And the game is so community interactive that it kind of brings back that aspect that a lot of old school MMORPG players are looking for. Whether it's for roleplay or just for fun to make some friends or whatever, there's a lot of chatting in the towns going around. There's a lot of people you can find groups to play with, people who will show you how to unlock this or that, or you can ride double mounts, you can ride on somebody's chocobo with them and they'll take you to a new area. Like, there's so much community interaction and talking that it's refreshing, because most people are coming from World of Warcraft, where it used to be that immersive, it used to be that community social friendly, and Legion's kind of bringing that back, but it kind of took this turn where everything was looking for a group. You know, guilds weren't as organic as they used to be, where you're communicating with people, making like really long-lasting relationships. I think in PvP, it's a little bit more so that way than it is in PvE and WoW nowadays. Personally, that's just from my experience, but Final Fantasy XIV is really going to do that. I'm going to make a lot of friends, I'm going to meet a lot of new people, and I'm just excited to get to know everybody, you know? That's really another thing I'm looking forward to, is just getting to know the player base, because it's an amazing community. Now, I hate to say this, but I'm looking forward to the tab targeting global cooldown system. I've been playing Terra, I've been playing, looking forward to Revelation Online, Blade and Soul, Black Desert. I've played all of these games, and they're all action combat, which, don't get me wrong, is absolutely incredible. But Final Fantasy is kicking it old school. Their global cooldown is longer than WoW's, but you have more abilities. It's kind of like, I really hate to compare it to WoW so much. I just know that it's relatable to a lot of you guys. So it's kind of like older school WoW, where you had like 1 billion different keys to press, and nowadays they've been pruning it down slowly and surely down to a lot less than it ever used to be. Final Fantasy XIV isn't that way. They have like 1 billion freaking abilities. You have to learn multiple upon multiple upon multiple rotations that are always changing depending on what class you play, and there's just all of these different systems, and I'm looking forward to that. It kind of has a sense of tactical awareness when you're playing the game, paying attention to what you're doing, and that's what I enjoy a lot of in-game for MMOs, is paying attention to that tactical awareness, knowing what you have to do next on the fly while that trash mob or whatever, that trash mob, that boss is swarming around or dropping this or whatever, and you have to just pay attention and be aware of everything, you know, cooperating with your party, healing people, but you know, there's so much interaction that it's really like, you can't ask for more than that. You know, it's going to be amazing, and I'm looking forward to leveling up is a slower pace. It's going to be a lot more chillax. It's going to be a lot more relaxing, but once you get to doing raids and hardcore content, then it's like, all right, buckle up. It's time to go. I don't know if that was. But anywho, it's a slower paced gameplay, and I'm looking forward to it. Just tab targeting, placing dots on people, doing that, and that's one of the main reasons I'm looking forward to joining this game and getting involved in it, because I just want that again. You know, I miss that. Now, I don't have the expansion, so I can't talk about flying, but I will say that there are some mounts that are just awesome. The gear looks amazing. The progression system is incredible. You can level all classes on one character. You can do all your crafting on one character. I heard the crafting has its own niche of just like enjoyment and satisfaction. There's a lot of stuff you can do with crafting and fishing and all of that stuff if you want to dive into that. You know, the instances, I've heard they're not that enjoyable at the early levels. You just kind of do some things that you think are kind of boring, but eventually it ramps up to like the level 50 content, and the level like it starts getting really good. So I haven't experienced any good instant content, so that's kind of a pro and a con. Early on, it's kind of, you know, it's kind of iffy. You just kind of do it to do it, and then eventually it's supposed to be like, wow, it's starting to get good, and you want to do more of it because you want to know more about the story. But it takes a little while to get into that curve. I don't know what level it begins. You guys can let me know in the comment section, but eventually it starts getting really good. Now, a few things that, because I don't want this just to be pure hype and pure why you should get into it, I want to say a few things that I'm kind of iffy about getting into it. So, the first thing I would have to say is PvP. I am a huge PvP player. I love PvPing. I love thinking outsmarting my opponents. Like, I love PvP. But Final Fantasy has a PvP system, but it's almost irrelevant. Like, it's not really, PvP isn't really that essential. It's not really an enjoyable experience. Like, it's not anything to really brag about in Final Fantasy XIV. It's kind of just like a side mini game. You know, it's not really something you can get into. So that's kind of a downside. That's kind of a flop. You know, once again, the combat isn't as up to date as a lot of future MMOs. It's more of a slow pace, and many people don't like that, especially in today's time. A lot of people will not like the combat in Final Fantasy, and if you really don't like the combat, that's kind of like the stepping stones to liking and enjoying the game, because that's most of the thing you're doing anyway, is doing combat. You know, unless you're playing like Mabinogi or something. But a lot of people don't like the combat. I'm looking forward to it personally, but eventually I may get bored of it. It may be too slow paced. It may not be what I'm used to. I may not be ready for it. You know, especially coming from Smash 4, where I'm pressing buttons 24/7, and then I go to Final Fantasy where it's like click, click, buff, heal, dot, click. You know what I'm saying? It may be a little slow paced, so that's, you know, it's a pro and a con, depending on your own taste, really. You know, it's kind of, I guess another thing is that early on, it's not the most, you know, the greatest experience. They do pull you in, like, as soon as possible. The maps, man, before I say that, the maps are incredibly difficult to learn. It is all over the place. You have to do it for at least, like, a week or two to actually know where you're going. It is confusing at first, but once you figure out the patterns and learn how it all works, it kind of gets understandable, but it's really all over the place at first. I will say that the game does not cater very well to new players learning the systems, because there is like at least 112 different features you have to learn, like, to do stuff. So you'll probably get to level 30 and not even realize 3 of the functions of the game that you should have done up until level 30 and you've never even known about. You know, there's so many like intricacies about the game, which some people like it because there's always things to learn and it's exciting. But I would say that it's not just like a plug and play, you can start playing the game. You can, but there's just so many like tabs and windows and interfaces and systems and macros. Like, there's so much you have to set up sometimes. So that's, you know, I mean, it requires a lot of work, I would have to say, and a lot of perseverance at first. But also, it's kind of a slow start. You know, it's like any MMORPG. The early levels, it's just kind of a breeze. You kind of want to get through them. You kind of just want to get it done so you can get to the good stuff. You know, you can get the meat of the sandwich. And, you know, at whatever level that happens, it's not as late as, say, in-game, like most MMOs. You get to the last level and then it gets good. It's not necessarily like that, but I just know that all of the dungeons I tried back then and all of the fates, it wasn't too exciting. There were some interesting fates and some fun things that just like were for pure enjoyment that I had fun playing with friends and stuff, but it's kind of a slow-paced beginning. You know, it's like most MMOs where it kind of has this curve, like, you know, boring, slightly okay. I mean, it's kind of enjoyable. Then it's like, boom, there's the game, you know? So it's kind of like that. It starts out slow and then ramps up. I would have to say I'm kind of worried just because I know it's going to be slow at the beginning. I'm going to try and make it as fun as possible. As a streamer and as a content creator, I don't know how hard it's going to be to actually make that enjoyable to watch. That's going to be up to me. But the early dungeons aren't the best in the world. You know, there's not too much to do early on. You really just have to plug and play and get past those early levels so you can finally get to the good stuff and start having a lot of fun about that. I think most of the enjoyment at the early levels of the game comes from just like being a newbie. You know, seeing another player ride on a chocobo and help you out to the next location, or seeing that new area and getting some new music, or finally completing your first hunting quest. You know, there's like these little things that you'll have fun doing, but it's not the best content per se. It's pure just like novelty at first. That's most of the enjoyment that you'll have to begin with. Now, I have no experience with the crafting system. I've heard it's a lot of fun, and I also heard it's a lot of work, and some people say it's just not worth it, or some people say you have to pursue it to the side and it's kind of a separate aspect to the game. I've heard of all different types of ways, so if you're interested in crafting, I think it's unique. You'll like it because you can do all your crafting on one character. You have to level them up like classes. Like, you level up your craftings, which I didn't enjoy the crafting system at first when I tried it, but I never did give it a fair chance. So for most people who are used to World of Warcraft's crafting or Guild Wars 2, where it's very simplistic and straightforward, I would have to say Final Fantasy is a lot more complex than that. So that can be a good thing, that can be a bad thing. I think it's just going to be kind of iffy on my part because I have to kind of, like, do a lot of work to get into it. It's not simple, but I like complex systems, so I may actually really enjoy it, and I may end up like pursuing it or something. Who knows what I'll do? But that's kind of something I didn't want to comment too much on because it's back and forth. You know, it's complex and it's something different. All in all, I would say that Final Fantasy is a pure PvE game. There's not much PvP, so if you are a hardcore PvE player or an MMORPG who enjoys role playing or storyline or lore, anything really. If you just want to play the game and play it casually, you can. If you want a hardcore PvE, you can. There is all kinds of content to do. I think Final Fantasy produces the most amount of sheer content as fast as possible compared to every other MMO, but it's not necessarily expansion content or new zones. It's more like new dungeons, new raids, new patches. There's always updates, but it's really all towards PvE. It's towards new things you can do at max level and things like that. So whether you like that or not, that's up to you, and I'm about to find out. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this helped you, and I hope it'll help me so I can compare these in the end. Whenever I end up getting to wherever I want to get to in the game, I can compare my two reviews, and you guys can get two different experiences and two different perspectives on the game by that point. So once again, leave a like if you enjoyed the video. It helps me more than you think it does. Leave a comment about if you're going to get into the game or what you like most about it or what you don't like or what I should be aware of. Whatever you want to comment. Leave a comment about that. Subscribe for future FFXIV content. I had to say it with acronyms because I'm cool, dog. Yeah, sweat. What? Ooh, cringe. Anywho, look forward to more content because I'm going to be posting a crap ton of it, and I'll be live streaming it, so check out the live stream when I'm live, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, most weeks. Sometimes that changes. Stay up to date on my Twitter for that. Anyway, this has been your boy, Wes, for show, and I'm signing out, guys. Peace.